I discovered my husband was unfaithful and he implored me not to end our marriage for the sake of the children. Unfortunately, he ended up with his ex-wife in front of our daughter, as seen on this photo. My husband is 40 and I am 34. We have been married for 4 years. I came into my stepdaughter's life when she was 16. When she was 10, both she and my stepson, now 12, were somewhat neglected and had behavioural issues. When I met them, my husband and his ex aren't bad parents, but he travels a lot for work and she is a bit flighty and self-indulgent. My stepdaughter and I hit it off really well and I love both my stepkids. They were happy for me to take on a more active role in their school and other activities. My husband and his ex-wife were satisfied with me doing the grunt work for the kids, as they both travel a lot. I became the sole parent who was fully engaged. I own a 3-bedroom house that I inherited from my parents. My husband and kids moved in with me. They love their rooms in our home and their lives in our town. The custody arrangement on paper is 50-50, but their mom doesn't have as much space as I do, so the kids are here almost full-time. A few months ago, I came back from an overnight school field trip with my stepson came home to a very upset stepdaughter. She'd found her parents together in my bedroom and was upset about the cheating. I was really sad to hear this from her. After some investigating, I found out that their affair had been going on for months, maybe even a year. I've been trying to get pregnant for the past, it's been 2 years and we were having a lot of intimacy in the bedroom. I found out that my husband was sleeping with us back to back, which was especially upsetting for me. I filed for divorce and asked him to leave. He doesn't want this marriage to end and seems somehow convinced that I'll change my mind. However, he agreed to my stepson and I have separated and he's moved out to an apartment. My stepdaughter was mad at both her parents and wants to continue living with me. Neither of them is taking any steps to move the kids out. They are still living in their rooms and continuing their lives as if this family hasn't imploded. I would have been happy to have the kids with me, but my problem is that both my husband and the kids' mom feel at liberty to come into my house whenever they want because their kids are here. She feels no guilt about the cheating and acts as if I am the interloper. She treats me like I am their nanny, expecting me to continue taking care of things. The kids are with me, but my issue is that my husband and the kids' mom feel free to come into my house whenever they want because their kids are here. She feels no guilt about the cheating and acts as if I'm the interloper. She treats me like I'm their nanny, expecting me to keep taking care of things. My ex drops by quite a bit, ostensibly to see the kids, but really to try to persuade me to let him move back in. I love my stepdaughter and don't want to do anything to hurt her, but I can't continue living like this. I feel so hurt and angry towards my husband and his ex-wife. It's painful to have to keep dealing with them. Their audacity to treat me like this is making my head explode. However, I don't know what to do about the kids. Everyone in my life expects me to just suck it up and do what's best for them. I love them, but this situation is becoming unbearable. Update 1: 3 weeks later, I'm posting this update because I'd like some support and suggestions. You've been so helpful in the last post. I read all the comments, but things blew up in my face soon after, and I was offline for a while following the advice. I spoke with a few lawyers to see what I could do about this. Unfortunately, the advice I received wasn't very promising. The lawyer retainer fee for a custody fight is too high, and with the separation, my financial situation is pretty tight. I couldn't afford to pursue this issue legally. I've been stressed and I've been working late these days. The day after I made the post, I was going to be late home and had asked my stepdaughter to reheat the frozen lasagna I'd made for dinner. When I arrived home, I found both kids having a meal with my ex and their mum. I'll call her Melissa. Melissa had decided to turn it into a family affair. Dinner was laid out on my formal dining table with my nice dishes. My ex and her had created a pretty family moment with them under my roof. I completely lost it at that point. I regret to say I behaved abominably, screaming at her and my ex and telling them to get the hell out of my house. This happened and I was pretty shocked too, to be honest. I'd kept my stepson out of most of this mess so far, so I needed some time away after my breakdown. I drove out to spend the weekend with my cousin, and my stepson wanted to come with me, so we left him with his dad. My stepson was really sweet to me and very understanding. I was upset because she hadn't invited her parents. Her mum showed up and then invited my ex for dinner, which my stepdaughter hadn't anticipated. I got pretty angry. I'm surprised I blew up like that, that's not typically me. After we got back, I let Melissa know that she shouldn't come over anymore. I told her that if she did come back, I'd have to report her for trespassing. Melissa didn't believe me and showed up to talk. I lost it with her. This time I did call the cops. They asked her to leave, and she did. My stepson was very upset with me for this. Melissa showed up again the next day, acting all sweet and telling me that I was being unreasonable. Unfortunately, I became pretty unhinged at this and swore and yelled at her. My stepson shoved me and screamed at me to shut up. I fell on my side and was shocked into silence. Melissa was pretty surprised too and left immediately. Whereas my stepson ran and locked himself in his room. I called his dad to come get him, but he was out of town and Melissa ignored his calls. My stepson is a very loving kid, so his reaction was heartbreaking. I understand where he is coming from though. Melissa is his real mother after all. Melissa is also a very pretty person who comes across as very sweet and delicate. She's the type of woman people are quick to help. It's natural that my stepson would feel protective of her, but I never expected him to turn on me like that. The rest of the week was bad with my stepson, angry at me and refusing to talk to me. When his dad got back in town, he came and got him. My stepson told him he said he didn't want to live with me anymore. A few days later, my ex wanted me to take him back, but the kid didn't want to come back. I told my ex I wouldn't force him, and he got pretty mad at me. He wanted me to fix the situation somehow, but I refused to make my stepson stay with me. My ex became pretty mean when I said I wasn't going to do that. He said some pretty ugly things. The worst was that he was relieved I didn't get pregnant because I'd make an awful mother. I was afraid of things turning out this way, but I've got my ex and Melissa out of my house, which is a relief. My stepdaughter is going to live with me until she moves out to college. My ex is struggling to find childcare for my stepson. My ex is so angry at me that I think he'll slow down the divorce even more. I want to fix things with my stepson, but I'm afraid to do anything that will bring his parents back into my life. I really don't understand Melissa's actions and motivations. She wanted to sleep with my ex, and I'd walked out of the picture, so it was all hers. If she wanted her kids, there wasn't anything I could do about that. If she didn't want her kids, I was already taking care of them. But she kept violating my boundaries with a smile on her face and acted all surprised that I wasn't happy about this. Neither she nor my ex wants to be the daily parent to my stepson. He's angry at me enough that he doesn't want to choose me. I feel so crushed about that. 2 weeks later, nothing of consequence has happened on the legal front since my last post. Emotionally it's been a roller coaster. Lots of people have been in touch, suggesting I should let my stepdaughter go and that it's not healthy for her to stay with me. That may be true on paper, but it's not something I want to do. I met my ex a few years after my parents passed away. I was very close to them and they passed away. One thing led to another. I was really depressed and grieving. My boyfriend at the time broke up with me. I also lost a lot of friends when my ex and I started dating. I was starting to come out of my sadness. But I was still very lonely. My stepdaughter and I became each other's support very quickly. She felt neglected. She resented her parents and loved the attention I gave her. I found her to be a loving kid and enjoyed bonding with her. My stepson and I were close, while he loved his mom. I did kind of assume that he was closer to me. One of the resentments my stepdaughter held against her was that she felt neglected by her parents. They weren't interested in her extracurricular activities, which led to her failing in some areas she was very passionate about. She's into a sport I know a bit about, and I spent a lot of time training with her and taking her to her events in classes. She's very good at it now. It'll be a great way for her to get scholarships and maybe even get into the college she's interested in. She's hardworking and ambitious, and I want to support her as much as I can. She's promised to keep her parents out of our home, and I hope she sticks with that until she leaves for college. My ex has been getting pretty angry and ranting at me in messages. I've stopped answering his calls and I don't reply to his emails. I've told him the only subject I'll discuss with him is divorce, and only through my lawyer. He's been bad-mouthing me to a lot of our mutual acquaintances. A couple of people have also spoken to me about it. I'm also accused of abandoning my stepson. One person even said that women who become stepmoms should know what they are signing up for and that a real mother wouldn't leave for children. I'm not good with conflict and haven't been able to respond properly. I've pretty much isolated myself from people so I don't have to listen to comments like these. Melissa is still blocked by me and she hasn't made any more efforts to communicate with me, which is a huge relief. A week after the last post, my sister-in-law came down to see me. She lives 3 hours away. I was a bit nervous about her driving all the way here to talk to me. I suggested we meet in a restaurant and she agreed. I was also a bit worried about talking to her because, while she has been polite and nice to me, she wasn't as close to Melissa as I'd hoped. She told me what my ex had said. She'd encouraged her to talk to me about my stepson, but she completely disagrees with him about that. She said I've been a great stepmom to my stepson, but he's not my responsibility. My ex was honest with her about his affair and she supports me getting divorced. She said a lot of. She was really supportive, saying I should move on and look after myself. She also thanked me for looking after my stepdaughter. That was nice, but then she said she wasn't surprised by the affair. She was surprised that my ex married me, implying that I should have seen this coming. She said Melissa is so much better than me, prettier, more successful, more charming. My ex would jump at the chance to be with her. It was just great to hear. I guess I have to accept that I wasn't the smart one here because I didn't see it coming at all. I was happy and in love with my family, so I made a mistake. The upside to that meeting is that my ex has stopped harassing me. I haven't heard anything from him since, and I think he has stopped talking about me to others too. I don't have any updates on my stepson yet, though my stepdaughter told me he's all right and waiting for summer vacation to start. A few of you suggested that Melissa might have been interested in taking my house, but I don't think so. She does. She has a good career and a rather spending lifestyle. She lives in a very fancy 2-bedroom apartment in the city, while my house is in a child-friendly but state suburb. I hope things continue to be quiet because I need to get my head straight and focus on work. My job is the one thing going for me right now. Update 3, 2 weeks later, we had a court date and a judge ordered mediation. This is putting this off for a few more months. I was hoping this would be wrapped up quickly since we don't have kids together. I don't want anything from my ex. I didn't bring up custody for my stepdaughter or stepson, and he didn't either. All I want is a divorce and to walk away with what I brought in, which is my house and my car. My ex isn't fighting for those, but he's still saying he doesn't want a divorce. What the hell, man? He's left me 2 messages asking to talk. But I've ignored him. The mediation will be over soon. Which sounds more comfortable to me than an in-person meeting. My stepdaughter and I are doing well living together. Melissa is silent and nothing from I've been waiting for a month and a week for my ex to sign the divorce papers. I'm so relieved to say that he finally did it. I was worried that it would drag on for longer. The first mediation meeting was a nightmare with my ex. He tried to convince me that we should go through marriage counseling. Fortunately, the mediator was a very firm woman who kept the conversations in control. We had a couple more mediation emails and he eventually agreed to sign off. I was still nervous about how it would go today, but my ex played nice and he signed off on everything, which was a nice surprise. He also gave me our entire joint savings account, which I wasn't expecting. I had asked for half of it, but in reality, he had contributed more than I did. I would have been okay with taking just my portion, but he surprised me by giving me all the money. It was our emergency savings, so not a huge amount, but a nice, high figure. I am so relieved about it. Money has become tight with lawyer fees and changes, and this helps a lot. Emotionally, it made me feel better about myself. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is his way of admitting that he messed me over and that I deserve something back. Update 5, 3 months, 2 weeks later. I haven't been in touch with my ex or Melissa, but my stepdaughter has been having some issues and she's been venting to me about how mad she is at her parents, mostly her mum. My ex and Melissa didn't last long, they were having fights and issues well before my divorce was finalized. Melissa immediately started dating someone else and from what I hear, she's happy in this current relationship and is so into it that she hasn't even met either of her kids in the past 2 months, only video calls. My ex had to juggle a lot of things to adjust his work schedule and get dependable. I'm looking for childcare for my stepson. He's currently dating 2 women, one of whom is quite young. My ex and Melissa used to co-parent well, but I was the one really doing that. Now they hate each other and hardly ever talk. You'd think that would make me happy, seeing them fall apart, but it only makes me angrier. My old life was destroyed, and I miss it. My kids were happy in that home, but it was destroyed for what? I miss my old life so much. A lot of it was a lie, but I was so happy and full of purpose then. I am just feeling lost right now. I have tried dating and have been on a lot of dates, but they have all been bad or wrong people. I've been on a lot of dates, but they've all been bad or wrong. People around me have been setting me up with divorced dads, and I don't mean to offend them, but I can't do that again. I actually had one date that felt more like an interview for a nanny role, and it made me so depressed. My stepdaughter, she's doing really well, which is great. I'm just a little bit scared of the time when she'll move out and it'll be just me in this big house. I've talked to my stepson on the phone a couple of times. He's grown up so much. It feels like we've been separated for years, but he's going to come for a sleepover during Halloween weekend, which I'm pretty excited about. My stepdaughter was going to babysit him at my ex's place while he travels, but I okayed having him with us since it's Halloween. Update 62 years later. I don't know if anybody will see this update after all this time, but I had left this on a sad note a couple of years ago, and that doesn't feel right. I had stepped away from Reddit because I was getting quite a few negative messages. Some people were making fun of me and I was getting some pretty harsh messages, even though most of you have been so supportive. I guess a few people just had a bad day. Since then, I've been focusing on myself. I stopped dating and stopped using online apps. I've been doing well, making a few friends and staying busy with an active life, a good career and hobbies. My former stepson has made it clear that he doesn't want me as a parental figure and isn't interested in being close to me. I respect that, but I still stay in touch with him. We exchange jokes and sometimes the 3 of us get together for dinner. He is in therapy for depression and anger issues, so I don't want to let go of him completely. Regarding the guy I am with now, this is by far the best romantic relationship. I'm really happy in my life. I'm pregnant now, in the second trimester, and we're both excited. The pregnancy was unexpected, but I'm thrilled about it. I was trying so hard to get pregnant in my previous marriage, and it didn't work. I tried medical interventions, but they didn't help. Now I'm pregnant despite using condoms. The relationship is still new, so I'm being careful. One of the best parts is that his family is amazing. His parents are very sweet and accept people who already treat my daughter as their grandchild. They are also very excited about the baby.